so this is my review on the Knuckles series, and I'm wearing a Sonic the Hedgehog shirt that has Knuckles on it, and I'm here to review Knuckles the series, or Wade the series, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so the Knuckles series started out pretty good. It's about Knuckles and Sonic and Tails. They're in it, but I think they're in it for like the first two episodes or just one episode, but I was prepared that it was going to be about Knuckles if it would just stick to that. But anyway, so when it was the story's about Knuckles trying to find his purpose on this planet in the beginning of the series, but then he tries to befriend Wade and he got kicked out and Wade gets kicked out of his bowling tournament. Knuckles has to train Wade, and then there's also a scene where Knuckles is being hunted down by these gun agents, but the gun agents are kind of like rogue gun agents that don't know about this, but they're like they want revenge on them because of their power and they didn't like that gun just left them there. And there's an evil villain called the Buyer, who I actually own a Sonic the Hedgehog comic, and there's a character named Julius Snively, and he has a beard kind of like Julius Snively, but I think he's supposed to be him in these movies because he even has a backstory and he works for his gun like in the Archie comics. But I feel like he's kind of a made up version, like because they call him the Buyer, so they don't call him Snively or Julie Snively. But yeah, because here's something I actually looked up. Apparently, even though the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comics are Sonic and half of the characters are owned by a guy named Ken Pender, and he owned copyrights of those characters. So even though Sonic's a character owned by Sega, Ken Penders owns half of these characters that were made up in the Archie comics. So Sega isn't allowed to have them appear in the video games. Why do you think you never see characters like Sally Acorn or Antoine or Bunny Rabbit or Roder in like the characters from the Sad AM series appear in like the other video games because those characters are owned by another person. I don't know. I like that a person got to own his creations, but if it's from a other IP that's you should just let them do what they want because like what if people really want to see most of these characters? Well, anyway, so the Buyer is an interesting villain and he has the cool mech and he has a cool deep voice, but there's a lot of cool parts with Knuckles, like he gets the glide, he wears the cowboy hat, but here's the problem. It's mainly focused on Wade. Yeah, it should be called Wade the series, then Knuckles the series. It's almost like someone had an idea about, hey, let's do a comedy about a guy who goes bowling and maybe there's some government agents and he has issues with his father. And they're like, maybe people won't watch that. Oh, we're making a Knuckles series. Let's just shoehorn into this, but have it be Knuckles, but it's barely about Knuckles. Like Knuckles is in it and there's a lot of cool parts like but it's mainly about Wade at the very end. Like they really dwell on this. Like there's a part where Wade has issues with his dad and he's trying to beat him at a bowling tournament and they really dwell on that. I'm just waiting for the Buyer in the mech fights him with Knuckles and interrupts the playoffs and just have it be about Knuckles. Like it's Knuckles the series. Why do some of these Sonic shows just focus on made up characters instead of the main characters they have for the games? Like focus on them. Like I mean, I like Wade fine in the movies, but he was just a comic relief side character. Like, did he really have to dedicate a whole story about him? That's like, imagine if Illumination decides to make a mini series dedicated to Super Mario Brothers, but let's say they had an idea about Toad, like they wanted to make a Toad series, but it was mainly about those husband and wife characters with their dog and tries to be about that, but it just happens to have Toad in it. Like, no, you want Toad. Like this, you want Knuckles. Like I like Wade fine, but I wanted to but be about Knuckles. Like if it's almost like someone had an idea about like they even reference Kevin James. Like it's almost someone had a Kevin James comedy, but it's like let's focus about this. Like come on. Um But yeah, and I'm trying to think of what else. But yeah, they really dwell on the Wade part. Like they show, and there is some parts that kind of remind me, in Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, where they try to do a serious dramatic moment, but they interrupt it with some silly parts. There is a lot of parts like that, and there is a cool part where, like, Christopher Lloyd does the voice of a chief guy, and he's pretty cool. But there's a whole dream sequence about, like, Knuckles of what he did. But that would be cool if it was about Knuckles. But it's Wade having the dream and trying to learn how to be a warrior from Knuckles. This is a Knuckles series. Like, I don't mind Wade being in it and having a friendship, and they do have a good friendship. But maybe have it be about Knuckles than Wade. And these two gun agents, or probably former gun agents, there's a scene where spoiler alert, there's a scene where they opened two rings, but I think they couldn't decide where to go, so they just had them go over, and I think they're trapped in limbo. Like, there's a scene where the rings implode on itself, so are they trapped forever in limbo without getting out? That's kind of haunting. And he literally trapped another gun agent in, like, those two agents in trapped a different gun agent in at the Mushroom Planet. Oh my gosh. Also, they never reference, like, Sonic and Tails don't appear at the end of the Knuckles series. It's just Knuckles, we won the bowling tournament, and I'm like, "Ooh." And they high five, and then Knuckles founds his jam because there's his jam, and they go back home, but there's not a reference to Shadow the Hedgehog or anything setting up Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Like, I heard you can watch Knuckles, but you can watch Sonic the Hedgehog movie 3 without knowing anything that much. But yeah, and it's so strange that they try to focus on Wade. Like, look at something like Fiona and Cake, Adventure Time with Fiona and Cake. Like, even though Fiona Cake is in it, a lot of people say it's like a Simon Petrikov series in the sky, but that was kind of a good thing because they at least know to focus on Fiona Cake in the most important parts. They just wrote Simon Petrikov as a really interesting character with his own dilemmas. But they knew to focus on Fiona Cake, so have it be Knuckles. Like, and also, there's a funny part where they're in his old bedroom. Knuckles goes to Wade's old bedroom at his house, and it has all these Paramount stuff. Like, it's kind of like in the Flash movie where he has all those Warner Brothers stuff. Like, come on, I get that it's Paramount. I get that was Warner Brothers, but come on, what are the chances someone has posters of the movies from one studio? Like, excuse me, like, look at my room. Like, I have, like, Doctor Who, Lego Dimensions, Mario, Spider-Man, Galador. Does anyone remember that show? Mario and Duck Dodgers, Looney Tunes, Bart Simpson as Bartman, Darkwing Duck over there, a Star Trek poster over there, and even a Sonic poster. But like, what are the chances someone owns one thing from one studio? Like, oh. Also, Wade has this mom and sister. They're nice, but there has this mean spiritedness with the sister, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and the dad's like, I think he's that British guy from. I'll look up. He looks like the guy from The Princess Bride. I don't know if it's the same actor, but yeah, he plays this bowling guy, and he's like, I'm gonna beat you at bowling, and I'm like, be about Knuckles. Okay, I'm starting to repeat myself, but. I don't know. I guess I like the show fine. Also, Tom Wachowski isn't in it. Maddie is, but she grounds Knuckles in a part. But yeah, she's only at the beginning part. But that's really it. But yeah, she was good, but we don't see her at the end of the series. But now you might be wondering, how did I watch this? Well, apparently, because not to shove any product placement, but because I can't get Paramount Plus, but there's a free week subscription you can get on Prime Video. So I watched it on Prime Video, but you can get a free subscription to Paramount Plus on Prime Video. So I actually watched the whole 6 episodes for free, and I watched it in one day. So, well, it's cool that I have a free week subscription to Paramount Plus on Prime Video, but yeah, okay, so I guess that's my review on the series, the Knuckles series. I guess I liked it fine. I just wish they they really get carried away when they focus on Knuckles. Like remember in the Sonic, like there's moments like remember in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, there's that part with Rachel and her and his wife. Like do they focus on these made up human characters with their dilemmas? Like like in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I thought to myself, what if someone changed the channel and they saw Rachel getting with her fiance, and I'm like, would people guess this is a Sonic movie? Like, but they at least know to focus on Sonic. Like, I hope they don't do this to Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, it's Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but then there's these boring parts about these human characters. Like, like even Sonic the Hedgehog 2 knew to keep it about Sonic and Tails and Knuckles. It's almost like, well, we have to do something to make it live action, so we have to focus on something human characters. Like, it's a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, it's a Knuckles series. We want to focus on the titled characters. Like, it's similar to like what is with these Sonic shows and tries to focus on the human characters, like even Sonic X, like that anime Sonic X, how even though it's called Sonic X and it's about Sonic, like it's made about this made up character named Chris Thorndike and and Sonic's friends. Also, what are people's thoughts on Sonic X? Because I hear some people don't like it, and I hear some people do like Sonic X. But yeah, because remember in the Smurfs movie, that live action Smurfs movies, where it was about Neil Patrick Harris wanting to be about his trying to be a father, but also an executive, and it's like we want it to be about the Smurfs. Like it's like that, but even more about one character. And like imagine watching Sonic 2, but remember that, but like I said, that scene with Rachel and her fiance, but imagine if that was more about the series. Like that's kind of like what Knuckles is. Like, don't get me wrong, I still liked it. There's still some interesting parts. It's just when you hear a show about Knuckles the Echidna, a series about Knuckles from the Sonic games, you want it to be about, well, Knuckles. Well, I think that's all I can talk about. That's all I talked about. Sorry if I revealed any spoilers. What did you thought about Knuckles? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you like it but got a bit upset when it was about Wade and not enough about Knuckles? Like, because Knuckles, there's even a part with like they're in the bowling tournament, and I'm just waiting for the buyer to beat Knuckle into the game and interrupt it and say, "Oh," and Wade being like, "Oh, that's okay about the bowling game. I care about you, Knuckles, because you're my friend." Like, have it be about Knuckles and like Wade's dad, who's really much of a dink, and he's like, and he plays this British-looking guy, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And he wants to defeat him. Another thing, like the sister is in the FBI, but there's moments where I'm like, why don't they just explain to her and get her help that there's these government agents are trying to capture them? Like she's in the FBI. Like there's moments where I'm like, there's no point of her being in the FBI if she's not gonna. And another thing, there's moments where even my mom was like, yep, it's about a bowling show that just happens to have Knuckles in it. And so, like I was saying with the sister, like, she does say she's in the FBI, but she doesn't call any backup or try to arrest the buyer or arrest any of the bad guys. Like, like try to use that. Well, I think that's all I can talk about Knuckles, the series. Like I said, did you like it? Did you hate it? What are your thoughts? I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time.